of this team.
It's true.
Not only do the Rams beat the Eagles next week, the Rams win the NFC.
Too far.
There's
Got to be kidding me.
no.
Are you serious? That's how you do it after all this time. After all this time.
I didn't want you to find
After
out
all
this
this
way.
time, you what?
I didn't want you to find
You
out.
didn't what?
I'm sorry.
You're sorry. You're sorry.
I'm sorry.
You're sorry. That's all you have to say for yourself. After all this
The
time.
heart was-
Really?
Oh, wow.
You know what?
Oh
Give me
my
that.
God.
Thank you.
I'll take it.
You know what, Chris? Call me.
Oh, my.
Thank you.
I'm rolling with D. What the heck, man? You know what? You deserve that. You deserve that. You deserve that.
Is Deion Sanders
deserve
going to be the
this.
next coach of the Cowboys?
Abandoning his Philadelphia Eagles pick. That was certainly interesting. There's no way around it. They definitely went for it. You guys know I've said this so many times now over the weeks. It's the NFL season is so fascinating because throughout the whole week, throughout the whole year, you kind of get split into multiple camps where you're kind of like, oh, that was a big win, but let's see if they can do it in the playoffs. Or, other people are kind of like, oh, the regular season doesn't matter. Or kind of other people are like, no, that was a big win week 4 against the Bills or, whoever. It's like, that's a big win. That shows that they've grown and evolved and that they're a better team than they were last year. Like all this type of stuff. And then you get into the playoffs and then you're like, oh, the Rams, they played week 12. And then you have people like, that doesn't matter. And it's so tough. On one side, the regular season matters so much because it's literally what we're watching. Otherwise, like, you become the NBA. And who cares about the regular season in the NBA? Who cares about the 40th game of the season? The Lakers versus the Warriors. Like, that's cool and all, but, like, who actually really cares? Doesn't actually matter. So we know the regular season matters so much in the regular season. But then you reach the playoffs and you're like, well, this is what happened in week 12. And you're like, nah, this doesn't matter. And I'm one of those people in the ladder where I'm just like, it doesn't matter what happened in week 12. Because it doesn't. I mean, it fundamentally doesn't matter because these teams are very different. They're completely different. How they're playing, both sides of the ball for both teams are just different. Different energy, different momentum, different style of play at this point. And it almost becomes irrelevant to even reference this week 12 game. Oh, 37-20, that shows that they're going to roll the Rams again. And it's like, we know it's not that easy because if it was, it would be the most known gambling shortcut. You would always just find the playoff teams that already played each other during the regular season. And if it was a known thing, then you would, it would just be exploited. It would be like they would have YouTube videos of like, this is how you make money, this is what you do, and it would be like the most known thing ever. So we just know, even just based off of like financial incentives, the NFL would go out of their way to do everything they can to make sure that the playoff teams don't play each other in the regular season. It would be too much of a liability. So even just mathematically and with major financial incentives involved, we know that it just doesn't matter. Not to mention just also like actual football common sense, we know it doesn't matter. So any of my takes, any of my conversations are not really necessarily going to be so built upon like, well, the Eagles won and therefore, et cetera, et cetera. Because this game, although incredibly convincing by the Eagles, there was many times that it could have gone in a completely different direction. And I do think at the end of that game, the Eagles, without a shadow of a doubt, proved to be the better team, the more physical team, the more dominant team. And I don't even necessarily mean to say that the Eagles are dominant, but just in terms of when comparing these two teams side by side, it was just the Eagles just had so much more to work with. And this was a game that they were controlled. As you can see, 1 sack versus 5, 9 for 15 on third down, 0 for 8, 314 rushing yards, 92. Like, when you do just look at this, it's like, you can be like, oh my God, this wasn't even close. But the game was closer than what the box score showed. Not to mention, do you think the Eagles are playing better in week 12 or than they are now? Do you think the Rams are playing the same way that they were playing in week 12 or how they're playing now? So, yeah, I mean, this game, like, I'm really excited for this game. I've said this now really since the beginning of this channel, that for me, the Eagles, the way how I interpret the Eagles fan base, the franchise, like I know the expectations are through the roof. It's for the Philadelphia Eagles, unless like you've dealt with injuries or it's just kind of like a transition year of some sort. It's like anything short of at least the NFC Championship game, the fans are not happy. The Eagles fans and the franchise itself, Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, the roster, the coaching staff, like there is no, oh, you know what, we had a great regular season. We won 13 games. We won 14 games. We won 12 games. Well, we won the one round and we got to the divisional round. Like, it's not like that. I mean, in a lot of ways, we say Super Bowl or bust, and I agree with that too, because I especially think this year, it's like anything short of the Super Bowl, no. In 22, they obviously wanted to win the Super Bowl, but they lost, and they lost to the Chiefs, and you're obviously going to be upset. You're going to have fans that are going to be upset and all that. But, you know, if you could take a more grounded look at it, you could be like, reaching the Super Bowl was still a heck of an accomplishment. They won the NFC Championship. That you hang a banner, and I'm pretty sure you get a ring too. And there's plenty of people who never even make it to the Super or never win a Super Bowl, and they are incredibly grateful that they have that NFC Championship and they got that ring and they wear it with pride. Brian Dawkins, Philadelphia Eagles legend, is one of them. You know, so it's just like it does mean something, and it means something to the players. It's obviously not the ultimate goal, but you know, it's still something that when the Eagles come home from the Super Bowl and they lose, you can still meet them at the airport and clap and say, you know, thank you for an awesome season. And it's not so much if they lose in the wild card round, the divisional round, like not so much. And you're still going to get a lot of heat even if you lose in the NFC Championship game or even lose in the Super Bowl. But it's still like, at least if you're a more grounded fan and you can kind of really appreciate just how hard this stuff is, you could be like, all right, I obviously think that this was a better team than what they were able to do, but they still did get to the NFC Championship game. That still is an accomplishment. It's still, they still prove that they were a top team. And so to me, for the Eagles, as long as they actually have a legitimate roster and again, they're not dealing with some sort of transition or like a rookie quarterback or a brand new coach, it's like the floor is NFC Championship game. That's why I always say to Dallas Cowboys fans, like, they always try to be like, oh, you know, we're the best team. We're so great. And it's like, you haven't even been to an NFC Championship game in 30 years. Like I don't really know what you're bragging about. You're bragging about winning Super Bowls in the 90s. And it's just like, that was a million years ago. That was so long ago. It just doesn't matter to me right now. It doesn't resonate with me. But that's the problem though with the Eagles getting to the Super Bowl in 22, just getting to an NFC Championship game doesn't resonate as much. It's like you with a big bulk of this roster, not so much the coaching staff, of course, but you were just in the Super Bowl a couple years ago and you came up short. So you showed me the floor is getting to a Super Bowl. So anything short of that at this point is really like, what the heck? And I kind of said this also in a previous video where it's kind of like the only team that it would even really kind of be acceptable to lose to would in a weird way kind of be the Kansas City Chiefs, because like they obviously are a dynasty. They obviously are special. It is Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid and all that. But it's like, it would be a harder pill to swallow to lose to the Ravens or the Bills, even though they're unbelievably amazing as well, especially Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson individually. But like losing to the Rams, it's just like, that would not be okay. And I'm still very confident the Philadelphia Eagles lose to the Rams. Like, Sirianni's being let go. Like, it'll be major issues. They will be ripping them apart on post-game live, like all that type of stuff. They'll be like, what the heck? We didn't even get to an NFC Championship game 2 years ago. We got to a Super Bowl, and now we can't even get, you know, back to the NFC Championship game. This is ridiculous. Blah, 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 blah. You know, like, and they'll be ripped. Any Philadelphia local fans will have to know that. I mean, they know the media, they know the energy that's there. And so, yeah, like the Philadelphia Eagles are the better team than the Rams. Like, that's also the thing. Sometimes when you go up just against a better team, it just is what it is. And you're just like, this is the better team. You know, I wish my team was better. We had an amazing season. They're just the better team. Handshake, man. That is, sports is the ultimate equalizer. There is no just like, hey, well, you know what, this team wanted it more, and they're really special, and, you know, yada-yada. Like, 9 out of 10 times, it's the better team that wins, man. It just is. We can talk about those teams that, like, they want it more, they play harder, they try harder. That's great. But, like, that one quote is, hard talent. Oh, man, I got to think about it. What is it? Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That's what it is. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And so the Eagles are talent. They are talent. They are box office. They have it. They are better than the Rams. They are better than the Rams. So losing this game is just because then you didn't show up. You didn't execute. You were not good enough on Saturday or Sunday. I forget when this game. Oh, this game's on Sunday. On Sunday. And that is a you problem. That is a you problem. And so it's just like, it is. It's like, you better show up and you better win. And I'm all for ugly wins. And I even defended the ugly win against the Green Bay Packers. But it's just like, you gotta show who you are. This is a team that you should be able to impose your will on. All the things that the Rams wanted to do, what they did to the Vikings, none of that should work on the Eagles. None of that. None of that. Jalen Hurts is a mobile quarterback. So bring on the blitz, man. Bring it on. Bring it on. Jalen Hurts should be able to escape that. Do these design runs to keep the defense honest. Work the ball to Saquon. Work the ball to these nice, easy, short passes to Dallas Goedert, Devontae, AJ. You don't have to do anything too crazy. You just got to set the game up to keep that defense honest. And again, it's one of those things where it's like, if you want to blitz me, that's fine. Go ahead. We have so many different options. I'm pretty sure the Rams-Eagles game, this was the game when it was really highlighted just how ruthless the RPO game can be with Jalen Hurts and Saquon and just kind of that constant balance, that constant of like, you just don't know what we're going to do. Is Jalen Hurts going to run? Is he going to hand the ball off to Saquon? Is he going to pull the ball back and throw? Like, it was just one of those things where it was like, I see the special in this. I see the special in this. And again, there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to repeat that exactly 37-20, but you saw the special in the Rams game. I think that was very clear to me back then in week 12. You're like, this team can be special. Because this is special right here. 481 total yards, 7.1 yards per play, 314 rushing yards, obviously. 9 for 15 on third down, 1 sack allowed. Like, that is special. That is a special game. And it's the playoffs. Things are going to get harder. But you know what, man? It's supposed to be cold on the East Coast. J-Mac talked about that, and I looked it up. Like, it's supposed to be cold. It's the East Coast. It's a Sunday, 3 o'clock game. And so, I don't know. What does the sun go down at, like, 5-ish, I guess? So, like, we'll probably get some daylight. But it's going to be cold. And by the fourth quarter, it should most definitely be dark. And so, it's going to be a little uncomfortable. And you're talking about an old quarterback, a couple of these, true born and bred West Coasters, warm climate people, like you should be laying down to win this game like a 37-20. Fourth quarter, Saquon's, on the bench, just kind of smiling, chewing on a mouthpiece, kind of walking back and forth, laughing. And Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown is reading his book, and he's like, "Yeah, man, see, when I read this book, I go for 120." And they're kind of like laughing and trolling people. That's kind of the energy that you want. Again, I'm not saying it has to be. I'm not saying like, oh, that's what I need in order to believe that the Eagles are a contender. But like, you want this team to start feeling itself. You do. You want this team to start to have this insane belief. I did not get that sense necessarily earlier on, but I think a game against the Rams, getting a big win against the Rams, against Sean McVay, who they have all this momentum, they have all this firepower. They're the media darlings now. It's Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford. I mean, I've been praising them as well. And then you knocked them out again. Nick Wright's like, oh, they're gonna win the NFC. He has this whole antics with some girl like splashing water in his face. It's this whole thing. And the Eagles win, and they win so in a convincing way, not in a weird way where it's like, oh my God, if that should have been a pass interference call, if that was called, then the Rams win that game. And they just win the game, and no one can dispute it. No one can say anything. It's just the Philadelphia Eagles win that game. It does. It lets everyone know, oh, this is a real team. And maybe you don't want that. Maybe you want to continue to win these ugly games, so when you keep playing these teams, like, they're not that good. They're not that good. Kind of what happened with the Kansas City Chiefs throughout this regular season. It's like, no. We can beat them. Man, the Panthers almost beat them. The Raiders almost beat them. Like, we got them. They're like, no, you don't. So it can work both ways. But from an outside perspective looking in, it's just like, I feel that this team is a momentum team, not an ugly team. And so I think you want to get that momentum. You want to start feeling yourself. You want AJ Brown smiling. You want Devontae smiling. You want Saquon, Dallas, Jalen, Gardner Johnson, Slay. Like, this is an energy team. This is a team that you want them really, really feeling themselves and having that momentum. Especially because if you win this game, you're going to most likely, I mean, maybe not, but most likely go on the road. And it's going to be against the Detroit Lions. Again, it could absolutely be the Commanders. Stranger things have happened. And then you're hosting the game. And then it's like, man, now you're hosting the NFC Championship game. And it's like, who knows what's up? But like, you're going to need the energy. Especially if you're going to be playing the Detroit Lions, I think momentum really, really matters. I really do. I think momentum matters going on the road to Detroit. Maybe to win this game, you don't need that momentum as much. Maybe this game you can win ugly against the Rams. I don't know if you can win an ugly game against the Detroit Lions. That's not clear to me because I don't see the Detroit Lions playing ugly if they're at home. Now, again, against the Washington Commanders, that can change because now you're talking about another rookie quarterback on the road in Philly. You know, the Philly fans will be going nuts and all of that. So that's why it's just like, I understand it's the playoffs and it's just like, hey, sometimes you just got to be able to win ugly. And I've talked about that in the comments with people saying like, yeah, you know, people always, you know, question, oh, can you win ugly? Can you win ugly? Then you finally win ugly. And they're like, oh, well, that was ugly. I can't believe they won that way. But I do think that there is something to momentum at this point. And if you constantly win ugly regularly, you know, it does. You start to have a little bit of doubt. And I just think at this point in the playoffs, if you're going to be going up against now the true special teams, and especially if you make it to the Super Bowl and you're going up against the Bills and the Ravens or the Chiefs, like, you know, ugly won't cut it. You want to feel like we do what we want to do and you can't stop us. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. We'll unpack this game, you know, again, more as the days go on. But I just kind of wanted to give a perspective more from just like a general sense rather than like a concrete deep dive. Because I just feel like we've kind of already been doing that a lot. And, you know, truthfully, it's just like, you know, I don't know what else could be said about like what either of these teams need to do, because to me it's we're so deep into the season, we know what makes both these teams special, but you know concentrating on the Eagles, it's like we know what the Philadelphia Eagles need to do. You just want to see them execute at a high level and not allow a team like the Rams to make any game to make it ugly, because again, you can even see they're favored by 6. You know, like that is a gift to the Philadelphia Eagles. If that's actually accurate in terms of like who the Rams are as a team, then again, you're at home and you're favored by 6. It's indefensible. That's what I'm saying. Even like an ugly game it would be technically like, I don't want to say indefensible. That's too strong. Losing would be indefensible. But even just winning ugly, I just think like, again, Vegas is telling you that the Philadelphia Eagles are significantly better. 6 points? That is big. At this point in the playoffs, that's big. I mean, that's Vegas's chance, way of pretty much saying Rams don't got a big chance at this. They don't got a real chance at this. And so you just want to see the Eagles prove that. You want to prove that they look at the Rams and say, that was really cool what you did to the Minnesota Vikings, but like that was in Arizona. We're in Philadelphia. Best of luck. See you next year. Now those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Rams? And now that Nick Wright has abandoned the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.